What's going on YouTube? It is Chew Poppy outside, and today I'm going to share with you my top 10 tips on how to improve in Halo Infinite Ranked. Today's gonna be a good day. Also, if you are new to the channel and you enjoy this content, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you click that notification bell. That way you are alerted every time I get ready to post a new video. And I do stream on Twitch, so if you are someone who enjoys live content and gameplay, definitely head over there and follow me at Chew Poppy outside. All the links will be down in the description below. So without any further ado, let's get right into it.
Yeah, I heard Poppy outside.
Alright guys, so let's go right ahead and jump into tip number 1, which is map knowledge. Now map knowledge is knowing a map's full architecture in and out, knowing every single nook and cranny, understanding exactly how to navigate through each map, putting yourself in the best position to give yourself a tactical advantage over your opponent. Now this might easily be the single most important tip on this list, especially in an arena style game like Halo, because knowing where your opponent is always half the battle. Having map knowledge always gives you a strategical advantage, especially in the ranked playlist. It enables you to initially stay one step ahead even if your enemy's skill set may be higher than yours. Because remember, like I said, knowing is half the battle. Now, of course, you have to rely on your individual skill set to close the deal and finish off a kill. But knowing this information up front certainly gives you the best opportunity to get the drop on your opponent. Having map knowledge not only allows you to think for yourself, but for your teammates as well, especially when you're in the solo duo playlist where you may be playing with people who are completely clueless, which you will. Trust me on that. Which now brings me to my next tip. Tip number 2, rotations and positioning. Knowing how to rotate and navigate around the map is super important for putting yourself in the best position to make a play. These are things I often see players neglect. Halo isn't Call of Duty where you can aimlessly run and gun around the map, especially in high tier lobbies. Now this is probably something you can get away with in Social Slayer and other unranked playlists, and maybe even slide by in some lower tier ranks. But when you create bad habits from the start, they usually transition over, and when they do, you start to ask yourself, why am I continuously dying? Well, probably because you're running out in the open like Rambo, trying to be a hero and make an impossible play. You want to give your enemies little to no room to navigate and make plays, especially during your objective games. One of the worst things you can do is be completely spread out across the map. Reason being is because now the enemy spawn points have been completely scattered across the map. And once that happens, there's no way to prevent your opponent from spawning behind you or in a place to where they can now take back a power position. Holding power positions are key in this game, especially holding top control, so the longer you're able to hold those positions, the more effective and efficient you'll be. Tip number 3, communication and callouts. Communication is key. Communication in this game a lot of the times will either make you or break you. It can literally be the difference between winning and losing. So much of this game is predicated on relaying and receiving information, such as where players are located, when someone is one shot, when and where to play the objective, should we be aggressive, knowing when to push for power weapons, etc. I always suggest taking the time out to go into custom games and loading into all the ranked maps and getting familiar with all the different callouts. An easy way to do this while you're exploring is to check out the bottom left hand corner of your screen. This is where you will see the name of each callout throughout the different locations around the map. Also, another quick way to learn is by using the built-in ping system. This not only allows you to see specific areas on your screen, but it will also be highlighted for your teammates to see on their end as well. Tip number 4, contesting for power weapons and power-ups. Obtaining power weapons and power-ups can completely change the dynamic of any game. When you have them in your possession, you have the ability to control the tempo if you play your cards right. Power weapons such as the sniper rifle, rocket launcher, and sword, which are 3 of the most common power weapons you encounter in most ranked games, can easily help you keep your enemies at bay and give you a sure offensive or defensive advantage. Making sure you time these weapon spawns will be critical though, because you won't be the only one aware about them when they come to the field. The opposing team will also get the same alert when these weapons are to spawn, so making sure you and your team are putting yourself in a position to make a play for them should take priority when the time comes. Same with the power-ups such as the camo and overshield, because the last thing you want is your enemy running around with invis. This may be the game out of all the Halo games to date where the camo is damn near invisible and super OP in my opinion. At least when someone has the overshield, you can see them coming and play them accordingly. The one thing that Halo Infinite has brought that no other Halo has had the ability to do is activate power-ups at will. In previous Halos, the moment you run over a power-up, it would activate on the spot. With this new added tactic, it allows you to have the element of surprise in potential clutch situations, putting your enemy in an unexpected scenario. Tip number 5, know when to play the objective. Something that I see very often is players either play the objective at the wrong time or don't play the objective when the time is right. Way too often do I see someone trying to take the oddball in the middle of a gunfight, grabbing the flag where there are still 4 players up on the opposing team, or making bad rotations trying to capture strongholds. Simple mistakes like this can easily be avoided just by having some understanding on exactly how the objective should be played. Timing is everything. For instance, if you're holding the oddball, having the understanding that this is now a 4v3 situation is important. You continuing to hold the ball when the score is 30-20 isn't worth it at the expense of you now dying and giving your opponent back that position of power. Because that extra few seconds you just fought so hard to stay alive for is now then being recouped by the opposing team. Plus, you have now allowed them to obtain their setup. I say all of this to say, if you see your team getting pushed, drop the ball momentarily and help your team shoot. Because what this does, this helps even the playing field and put your team in a better position to protect you once you guys have now downed 1 or 2 of their players. Now, mind you, every team strategy is a bit different. Of course, you have your players who are considered to be main slayers, and you also have your players who are strongly objective based. But each type of player should always be able to do both when needed. I always suggest establishing who will be doing what before the game starts if you have the luxury of playing with a full team. But mostly in solo queues, try using proximity chat even if your teammates don't have mics, because even if they can't respond back vocally, they can potentially respond back through game action. I'm going to keep this one short and simple. Tip number 6, team shooting. Team shooting is one of the most effective ways to completely dominate a game. Staying in rotation with your teammates always allows you a better opportunity to finish off kills and come away with tons of assists. Now, I know we all love those one-on-one gunfights to where you casually out-BR a guy and teabag his dead body. But more often than not, you will always be in gunfights with multiple enemies at a time. So having your teammates there certainly improves your odds of winning those gunfights and or getting the refrag. Tip number 7, 3 to the body, 1 to the head. Now, this is a tip that a lot of seasoned Halo players know more about than newer players. Halo has never rewarded you for any sort of headshot multiplier for getting headshots. When launching into a ranked arena match, everyone starts off with a battle rifle which shoots in 3-round bursts. Now, for those of you who have ever used a 3-round burst gun in any multiplayer game, you know how important it is that you hit all 3 rounds in that burst. In Halo, missing 1 or 2 of those rounds can literally be the difference in whether you win or lose a gunfight. This is why the 3 to the body and 1 to the head rule is so important. You want to give yourself the best chance to come out on top when engaging an enemy in a gunfight. Aiming for center mass, which is the area that has the most surface area, gives you the best probability of hitting your first 3 shots accurately without missing. Once the enemy shields are cracked, you then now can finish them off with 1 headshot. This is the most simple and effective way to kill your enemy. Your BR starts out with 36 rounds, which allows you to shoot it 12 times before you have to reload. So, to put it into perspective, you can realistically kill 3 enemies in succession if you're perfect. Tip number 8, utilizing equipment and off-the-rack weapons. Now, this is something that I feel like I need to put major emphasis on. Your equipment will save your life. So I suggest you get familiar with them. As of right now, there are currently 4 pieces of equipment that you can utilize at your disposal: the grapple shot, the repulsor, thrusters, and the drop wall. Having an understanding of how these pieces of equipment work and when to use them can definitely turn the tables on your opponent in any situation. Just by having the equipment in your possession essentially gives you playmaking ability, whether it be getting yourself out of a sticky situation or capitalizing on an opportunity to get the upper hand. Regardless of what the reasoning may be, just know it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Now, getting into the off-the-rack weapons, I literally have 2 words to say in regards to these: grab them. Way too often do I see people run right past these weapons. I personally believe this is because either they don't know how to use them or they aren't very good with them. Just to name a few of my favorites, such as the Bulldog, the Mangler, the Heat Wave, and the Sidekick Pistol. Now, these weapons aren't one-shot kills like the main power weapons are, but don't be fooled. They can still be used to single-handedly overpower your enemy with very little effort. The rack weapons also tend to respawn a lot sooner than the main power weapons do, which means they will be available for use a lot more frequently. Now, there are many more off-the-rack weapons than what I named, some which are map specific, so familiarizing yourself with their locations on the different maps will be crucial. Tip number 9, don't die for free. Be patient. I feel like this is one of those tips that is self-explanatory, but not common sense. Don't die for free, also known as don't allow yourself to be a free kill. Don't try and be a hero. More often than not, when you try and do this, it typically always results in you on your back staring at a countdown. More specifically, if you're the last alive, especially in an objective-based game, be patient and stay alive. You want to always be aware of how many players are dead or alive on the battlefield. There's just literally no point in running out trying to fight an unwinnable 4v1 or 3v1 situation. Now, unless you're an HCS pro and you're playing against bots, then there's always an exception. But for the most part, if you're playing against fairly competent players, then you're legitimately setting yourself up for failure, which then puts your team at a disadvantage when they spawn in. You're always going to be stronger in numbers. There's never any need for an unnecessary ego push. No need to give it away for free when you can make them pay for it. And last but not least, tip number 10, watch your game film. This is by far the most important tip on this list. I just cannot stress enough how imperative this is to the overall improvement of your gameplay. Allow me to add some more relatable context to this tip. I am an athlete, been one my entire life, so for those of you who enjoy sports, this will provide you some much needed relatability. Watching film allows you a very detailed look back into previous games to have an understanding of exactly what happened. I use theater to seek out my mistakes, improve on my weaknesses, and pinpoint my strong suits. Not only is this a great tool for studying yourself, but it's also great for studying and observing other players as well. Seeing other players' tendencies can help you formulate strategies in order to overcome making the same mistakes twice. There will always be some things that other players do better than you. The best counter I've found to be the most effective is take something that someone does well and make it better, more unique, more efficient. In the midst of my tenure as an athlete, film study was always something that separated me from being a good player to being a great player. Being able to go back and revisit my mistakes allowed me to improve within half the time of what it did to take someone who didn't. So overall, watch your game film and thank me later. That is all I have for you guys in this one. I certainly hope this video was helpful. If it was, definitely make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you leave a comment down below. Let me know if this video was helpful and let me know if there was anything that maybe I left off this list that should have been in there. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.